So here is what I've been working with so far. I started at the top, and the first pass, because of the width between these two sides, sort of just shot right down between them with no having to go over under physically. It just sort of went right through. And then I looped around the bottom and back up the other side. Then when I started the next pass, it was, of course, over under the opposite way, and finally that required work. So I relied heavily on the sewing needle for this project. And if you don't have a sewing needle, I imagine that you can make something from like bending a paper clip and hooking the yarn into the bottom of the paper clip and having the point part be the front of your needle. You might have to get creative, but it would have been really hard for me to do this without the sewing needle. Over, under, over, under, over, under, all the way down, and then back up this side, and then I came down this side. Each time down here, I had to like kind of deliberately skip one, because if I had just come around, I would have been on the same side of the warp thread as I was the last time, and that won't do. And then now I have left it here where I'm ready to go to a different color, and I'm going to tie it to my next color. I pulled out this center, so this was fresh, but I really like pulling the yarn from the center, and sometimes it's really easy to find the end inside, and sometimes it is not. And this time I had to pull the whole, like, guts out, or whatever it is, you know. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the front of this thing, and I realize this looks a mess, but at least when I'm done with this, pulling from here going forward is going to be a whole lot easier than constantly unwrapping this thing, which I don't really want to do, and I like to kind of keep it organized. So let me tie it onto my weaving, and I'll show you how to do this if you haven't already done so. Alright, so I have found the end. I tied it to my thread where I left off. See if that really focused on there. There we go. And then trimmed the ends of that tail. And now I have folded over my yarn, and I'm pushing it through my sewing needle, and I'm holding on to just enough to keep it from pulling out while I'm working. And then I have actually been like not sitting in this chair for most of this weaving. I've been sitting where I could get this, you know, at this a little bit better, but I will still do this for this demo. And then what I am doing is I am going from, so now I'm at the top, and I'm going to have to go back down the other side. So this is over this last warp thread, and then over, under, over, under. I really like the white along the edge, or at least a color along the edge pushed up against the Y shape of the branch, because I think it really accentuates the fact that this is a Y shape to the branch. And if it is all one color, I don't think you really get that. But it's one of the beautiful things of this. And I did, finally, out of just exhaustion and frustration, dab on some hot glue to 2 or 3 of my places along my branch where it just kept slipping, and it was causing the whole thing to get loose, and it was making me nuts. So while I wanted this to be, you know, like just a really natural branch weaving, it is gonna be a hybrid. And if you don't have hot glue in the house, of course you can just use, you know, regular glue. It would just take an extra while to set. And if you don't have any glue, I would suggest notching your branch with like a little scissors or knife or something, and then getting it so that your warp threads could sit in there so that they have something to grab onto. Or, of course, if you pick a branch that has a lot of texture, you might not have to do any of this extra stuff. So, like I said at the beginning, maybe picking the perfect branch is what this is all about. Saving a lot of time and hassle. Alright, so now I'm going to go around something so that I can come back up and start to go the other way. You'll have to do something additional than just your last warp thread, or at least I did. And now I'm heading back up. Over, under, that wasn't over, this is an under, that's an over. Alright, so this is, this is it. And I think I would find it a little bit more calming if I hadn't, also been parenting all day. Families, you understand. Alright, youngsters, like I said, I'll keep these videos coming. I'll show you this when it's complete. This is the one I'm really kind of pumped about working on, so I'll work on this too. And I'll post about those tomorrow.